Jnanena tu tad ajnanam Yesham nashitam atmana Yesham adityavajnanam Prakashayati tatparam Translation: when, however, one is enlightened with the knowledge by which nescience is destroyed, then his knowledge reveals everything as the sun lights up everything in the daytime. So, just like in the night you can't see many things when you just walk out. You really can't see if there's no light. So, it's the same thing, it's compared with the enlightenment. Once you know about something, even in the dark, you know it's there. So that's what enlightenment is all about. So basically, another way to understand how knowledge leads to liberation is to understand that there are actually three doers. One is the living entity. He does through his desires. The other one is the three modes of material nature. Even though they are inert, they are sanctioned by the Lord to carry out the activities of the living entity. And the person who sanctions it is the doer number three. So, three of them. So, one is enlightened by knowledge, means they understand the relationship of these three elements, or the living entity, the material nature, and the sanction. Who is the Supreme Personality? Okay, or Super Soul. So this is a relationship. So one knowledge means you know this relationship between the Super Soul, the Soul, and material nature. So once you understand the relationships, then you are able to be detached from the fruits of your actions or the activities. You are not attached to the activities itself. Okay. So particularly, some of the things that happen for one who is trying to understand is written very nicely by Srila Prabhupada in the purport. Those who have forgotten Krishna must certainly be bewildered, but those who are in Krishna consciousness are not bewildered at all. Because one is in duality. You see heat and cold, the other person just tolerates it, understanding that it will go away. So there's a difference in the way they conceptualize what they are feeling also. So later on, Srila Prabhupada writes a couple of lines down, knowledge is always highly esteemed. And what is that knowledge? Perfect knowledge is achieved when one surrenders onto Krishna, as is said in the 7th chapter, 19th verse, Bahanam Janmanamati Jnanamam Prapadyate. After passing through many births, when one perfect in knowledge surrenders onto Krishna, or when one attains Krishna consciousness, then everything is revealed to him, and everything is revealed by the sun in the daytime. So when one is perfect in knowledge, means he understands his position or his relation with the Supreme. He truly accepts that understanding, that position. Okay, there's no doubt in it. Therefore, he is in perfect knowledge, and because he behaves in a different way. He understands what his relationship is now, and therefore he acts in a different way. That's what perfect knowledge means. So he therefore surrenders to Krishna. Then everything is revealed to him. Then he sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. So that is seeing things not in darkness. Okay? Prabhupada then continues, the living entity is bewildered in so many ways. For instance, when he unceremoniously thinks himself God. So that's one type of bewilderment. They don't have sufficient understanding and they think they are God. So that's one kind of illusory understanding. Actually, according to our understanding, it is actually the last snare of illusion or nescience. Because if the living entity is God, how is it that he is bewildered by the material nature? Right, so therefore, to think that he is God is totally bewildered. That's the last snare. Huh? Ignorance. Yeah. Or material nature living in. Yeah. Or in another way you can break it down, like not science. Okay. It's ignorance. So one is to think oneself as God, that's one kind of ignorance. The other one is to identify oneself with matter. Matter is inert, it's got no life, but yet the living entities identify with matter. That's the other. So therefore there's two ways the living entity gets bewildered. But if he is exposed to the practice of Krishna consciousness, then it helps him remove the bewilderment. Okay. Bewilderment is always there in the form of material nature, ignorance and so on. Don't know what to do, how to do. Huh? But once he understands the knowledge, then he can sidestep this illusion, and then he sees for what he is. So knowledge in Krishna consciousness or transcendental knowledge in Krishna consciousness helps one remove bewilderment. So therefore you will see previously in the 4th chapter, the Supreme Lord glorifies transcendental knowledge. So therefore from this we understand what perfect knowledge is. So perfect knowledge is to know that you are not the body, you are the spirit soul. So you are different from the body, material body. That's one understanding. And the second understanding is that you are not Supreme Lord. You can never be the Supreme Lord. So that is the perfect knowledge. We are eternally separate and different. So these are perfect knowledge. To come to that acceptance and to believe in that is called faith. Your faith increases accordingly. The more you believe that, the more you act on that platform. The less you believe, the less you act on that platform. So how do you get this perfect knowledge? Huh? Surrender to Krishna. What else? Chanting out. Well,
devotional service.
Yeah, but the best way is to what? To? In the 4th chapter.
Spiritual master.
Yeah, you approach someone who can give you the knowledge. You can try all this and it will help you, but the best way is to approach someone who can guide you in that. Seek out the spiritual master and learn about Krishna. It's the easiest way. Okay. And then of course the rest is correct. That's the first way is to seek someone, the other one is to surrender and do the process itself. Okay, so if someone wants to represent Krishna, therefore he or she must not claim to be Krishna. You laugh, but so many people claim to be God. Even though the spiritual master is given the respects of the Supreme Lord, he is not God. He is respected equal to God because why? No, because he is giving you Krishna. That's why you give him the respect equal. Ordinary people don't get that because they don't give you God. So one who's Guru is giving you Krishna, so you treat him as good as God. But he is not God. That's the difference we need to understand nicely. Okay. Now we studied, right, in the 4th chapter, the soul desires and who sanctions? The Supreme Lord. And does he interfere? No, he doesn't interfere. Okay. And then how is this desire carried out? How?
Karma.
Huh?
By the material energy.
By the material energy. The body and then acts. Okay. And who controls his material energy? Indirectly, Krishna through the through other living entities like the demigods and so on. Okay. But who's responsible for the final outcome? The soul. Because he is the one who is desiring. The Lord does not interfere in what you are desiring. Okay. So when you understand this relationship, then you know what you need to desire. So that's knowledge already. You understand. That's coming towards liberation. So you know I can't desire something that's going to bind me. Right? Binding means? Means what? Karma. Creating karma. Okay, binding means the gunas trap you and you then get more karma. Okay, now from verse 17 to 26, it talks about how one can be liberated through focusing on the super soul. That means focusing your consciousness on the Supreme Lord. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas annistas tad parayana gachanti apunaravritiim jnana nirduta kalmashaha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith and refuge are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. So everything he does it for Krishna. Okay? When he's cooking, he's thinking about Krishna. When he's cutting vegetables, he's thinking about Krishna. When he's cleaning the altar, he's thinking of Krishna. When he's doing the arati, he's thinking. When he's singing for Krishna. When he's dealing with his family, he's thinking they are servants of Krishna. Same thing. Everything is Krishna. So that's fixing one's mind, intelligence, faith, everything in Krishna. So when we continuously do that, whatever misgivings, whatever material attachments we have will get purified. It goes away. The more we understand, the more we give up our connection to the material nature. It's a gradual thing, but as you get to know more and more, you'll quickly give up stuff. In the beginning, it's going to be slow. It's like going up a mountain. Nah? In the beginning, the inertia required to move up is so much. But once you get to the top, and then when you come down, it's like, free wheeling, like that. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says the supreme transcendental truth is Lord Krishna. The whole Bhagavad Gita centers around the declaration that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. That is the version of all Vedic literature. Paratattva means the supreme reality, who is understood by the knowers of the Supreme as Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So these are three features. Brahman is the impersonal effulgence or the Jyoti, the light that comes out of the Lord. And then the other expansion is called Paramatma, who is in every atom, outside the atom, in between the atom and inside every living entity. Okay, that is the Paramatma. So this is the next feature. Now the Brahman feature is known as Sat feature. That means he has eternality feature, but there's also pleasure in it, but it's not as much as in the Paramatma feature. The Paramatma feature is called Sat-Chit. That means it has eternality as well as knowledge, eternal knowledge. It also has some Ananda there, but it's not much. And then the Bhagavan feature is the Supreme Lord in a personal form, and that form is Sat-Chit Ananda Vigraha, full in all three. Okay. So that is complete realization. The other two are realizations of Godhead, but they are not complete. They are imperfect realizations. And Prabhupada says there's nothing more than that. Nothing more to know. So then he quotes one of the verses, Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya. He's declaring this in the 7th chapter. He tells Arjuna, O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Nothing more than knowing Krishna. No other truth superior to me. Impersonal Brahman is also supported by Krishna. Brahmana hi pratistaham. So this is in the 13th chapter where he says, I am the source of Brahman. A lot of people think Brahman is separate and then from Brahman comes Krishna. That's all nonsense. Here it's very clear. Krishna says, I am the source, pratishtha. I am from me. I am the subsistence that holds Brahman. So I am the one that is from me that comes Brahman. So, therefore, in all ways, Krishna is the supreme reality. And then, once you understand that, your mind, intelligence, faith, everything, you take shelter in Krishna. You fully take shelter. And if you fully take shelter, He will guide you, He will cover your shortcomings. The Lord will take care of your shortcomings. And then He will take you back eventually. Because you have faith in Him. Right? It's a reciprocal thing. It's just like you and me. If somebody likes you, you like them also. Huh? To some extent. And if you really like them, then it's a different extent, different kind of relationship. But that's how Krishna is. The more you show Him you like Him, the more He likes you also. It's just like us. He's a person. And He has personal feelings, emotions, everything that you can think of. But we are poor imitation of Him. That's the only difference. But whatever we feel, emotions and all, He has it. And it's perfect when He has those emotions. So therefore, Krishna is, Srila Prabhupada says, a Krishna conscious person can thoroughly understand that there is duality, simultaneous identity and individuality in Krishna, and equipped with such transcendental knowledge, one can make steady progress on the path of liberation. Now this pertains to what we call Achincha Veda, Abheda Tattva. They mean simultaneously one and different. Okay? The Lord is originally one, then He expands into so many parts and parcel creations and everything. So He is also, His energy transforms into the material nature. So in one sense His energy is Krishna's energy, but it is not Krishna at all, because it is separated already. So similarly we are also part and parcel of Krishna. We are also part of His energy, but we are not Krishna. So this simultaneously one and difference is known as Achincha Veda Veda Tattva. That means inconceivable oneness. You can't understand it. It's so inconceivable. That's what it is. So
the non-duality philosophy exists when the Paramatma is divinity.
It depends. If you identify with the material nature, then there's duality. Right? But when you identify with the Lord, then you see oneness. But at the same time, the Lord exists in different forms. But He's not the Lord in those forms, but it's His energy. So therefore, in one sense, it is the Lord's energy. Because the Lord's energy, people will say it is the Lord, but it's not. So therefore, Achincha Veda Veda Tattva. That truth is revealed.
But the highest consciousness, it follows duality.
Duality.
He's separate. The Supreme Soul.
Okay, but not duality. Duality is what you experience in material nature.
There is no duality.
That is not duality. That is individuality. You are individual, the Lord is. Duality means you experience differences. Okay. Whereas when you realize God, you experience oneness. But not that you join oneness. Spiritually, you experience the spiritual oneness. Vidya vinaya sampanne Brahmani gavihastini Shunichaiva swapakecha Pandita samadarshinaha. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and a gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So basically he cannot see differences because he sees everyone as,
Equal.
yeah, but what does he see everyone as? Part and parcel of Krishna. Yeah. Okay. Because mundane vision is to see species, caste, or you're this caste, that caste. But a spiritual vision is they see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. And he sees the Lord in everyone's heart, the Paramatma in everyone's heart. And he sees each individual has a soul like that. So therefore, one who's liberated, he sees everyone equally. He doesn't see this guy is better, that guy is less, and then he doesn't treat them differently. Whereas one who's not on that platform, he's seeing what I get out of this person, what I'll get from that, so therefore he treats each person differently. Whereas one who's liberated, he has nothing to gain from anyone. Rather, all he wants to do is help them connect with Krishna. But when he's above a certain level, he sees everyone as Krishna's servant. So therefore, he treats them everyone equally. But of course, if he wants to help them, then he will want to see differences. Okay? Because he may be advanced, so advanced that he sees everyone as souls, but the individual souls are not advanced, they don't know how to go back to God. So then he will not see them equally. He will come down to the, not from Uttama platform, he comes down to Madhyama, where he can discriminate. But he is still pure. But he discriminates so that he can help them to on the path of Krishna consciousness. Okay. So that's the difference. When he's compassionate, they'll come down to do that. But generally, not everyone will do. Generally, most of them are very advanced. They just are absorbed in Krishna. Yeah. But when they are asked to help these individuals by Krishna, then they come down. Not that they lose their advancement, it's just that they are able to see differences. ISKCON Yesham samye stitam manaha Nirdosham hi samam Brahma Tasmad Brahmani te stitaha Those whose minds are established in sameness and equanimity have already conquered the conditions of birth and death. They are flawless like Brahman, and thus they are already situated in Brahman. Prabhupada writes, equanimity of mind, as mentioned above, is a sign of self-realization. Those who have actually attained to such a stage should be considered to have conquered material conditions, specifically birth and death. As long as one identifies with this body, he is considered a conditioned soul. But as soon as he is elevated to the stage of equanimity through realization of self, he is liberated from conditioned life. In other words, he is no longer subject to take birth in the material world, but can enter into the spiritual sky after his death. The Lord is flawless because he is without attraction or hatred. Similarly, when a living entity is without attraction or hatred, he also becomes flawless and eligible to enter into spiritual sky. Such persons are to be considered already liberated, and their symptoms are described below. So you can experience equanimity even on the platform of Brahman and Paramatma realization or Krishna consciousness. So 3 levels you can do that. But they will see at the different level. The Brahmavari will see everything on the Brahman level, and then the Paramatma when he sees at the super soul. Okay. He sees the super soul is sanctioning like that. That's how he sees. And the devotee of the Lord, he sees everything happens to him as Krishna's mercy. And therefore he says, oh, that's nice that Krishna is so kind to me. And whatever suffering I go through, that's okay, because Krishna is helping me. But because he thinks like that, and he's not worried about the reactions that come, he is actually liberated. Yeah. That's the difference. So he has no attraction or hatred. Because of that, he has no attraction, no hatred. He doesn't hate anybody or is not attracted to anyone. And that's why he is considered to be flawless. You would go to a person who doesn't favor anybody or always equal, right? If you want someone to judge. So that's the kind of person you will become. Equanimity of the mind.
Real detachment.
Yeah, real detachment. Because he's considering everything from the point of the Lord. His attachment is only to the Lord. Yeah. Such a soul is rare. Na prashyad priyam prapya no dvijay prapya cha priyam Stira buddhira sammudho Brahmavid brahmani stitah. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. So these are symptoms of one in transcendence. Okay? I mean, basically without desire or hatred again, without rejoice or lamentation, his intelligence is always sharp, he is unbewildered. So again, no illusion or false bodily identification, and then his mind is of steady intelligence also, because he doesn't rejoice or lament for bodily relationships or achievements, because he understands he is not this body, part and parcel of the Supreme God. And finally he is unbewildered.
Basically detachment.
Again, yeah, but more different.
Not emotional, not like emotional.
It's not emotional, because emotion is his emotions is directed to Krishna. Okay? But not to material things or anything to do.
So here, when you don't feel when happy or sad,
Yeah. Yeah, that means he's not of this world anymore. But he will be happy or sad for Krishna.
Is there any difference between Sthira Buddhi and Sthita Prajna? Are they?
Then it's the same thing, but this is like more defined more, okay? Expanded. Those that are in chapter 2, right? That is the summary of one who in transcendence. Here is giving one who's performing this at a higher level, how he acts, what's his intelligence like. So it's the same. Bhaya sparsheshu ashaktatma vindati atmani yad sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam asnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So you can see it's similar, same thing, right, in a different angle. Okay. So he experiences a higher taste in the service to the Supreme Lord. Okay. That's a higher taste. And therefore he is never attracted to the material sense pleasure, because he has a higher taste. The higher taste is Krishna consciousness. Yeah. And therefore this temporary taste is never going to attract him. So he always concentrates on the Supreme. one can also say this is the Brahma Yoga stage also, because concentrating on the Brahman. Okay. Or you can say Brahman is also, sometimes is interchangeable with Krishna. So he's always concentrating on Krishna. So because he's concentrating on Krishna, he loses taste for sense enjoyment. And therefore he avoids any material pleasures. Even when it is there, even when he knows this pleasure is there, he avoids it. Because he already knows what the higher taste is. He doesn't want to disturb his stita. Understand? So sometimes, like you think, oh, I haven't seen any nonsense for 10 years, maybe I should see if I'm attractive. He won't do that. He knows I should not. That's the steadiness. He's not going to test it. So like little kids will try it, so he's beyond that. He's not going to check it out and see how I feel.
Doesn't even have the desire, right?
If he
have the desire, he again falls back to delusion.
Yeah, that's right. So
once he goes there, he does never come.
Generally, the desire may be there in some of us. That means it may be not as strong, but it is there. Yes, until you give up this material body sometimes. Not for everyone. But once you attain a certain level, that will go. There are different levels of realization.
So he becomes a mithyachari.
Yeah, otherwise, mithyachara means you're not even experiencing any of this. You're just pretending. Okay, that's a mithyachara. This is one who is already tasting pleasure in Krishna conscious activities, right? And then at the same time, these thoughts can come in his mind. Okay, that means he's still not 100% yet. But he doesn't care about this. Now, higher than that is they always think when they see Krishna everywhere. Previously, remember, he sees Krishna everywhere. Pandita Samadarshana, like that. And basically, if you are liberated already, you don't have any more taste for mundane material things. You only have a taste for higher taste, which is spiritual taste. So that's what we are doing. When you chant your holy name on your beads, the chanting is actually the highest taste. To hear it and experience it is the highest taste. And that's what you're doing, you're chanting every day to come to that stage. So you have to give the chanting priority. Right? And think about it. A lot of you do have some time, so chant, meditate on your hearing that holy name, and then the holy name will open like a lotus flower to reveal Krishna to you.
Sometimes you go into temporary trance, right? Like when you're doing kirtan or chanting or stuff, sometimes you go into...
Very, very, very minor. You may feel some pleasure, but not really trance.
Maybe hallucination at times.
Or sleeping.
Sleeping.
You chant, sleep, that was a good sleep. So, very rarely. Yeah, sometimes in kirtan you feel some pleasure. That means the Lord is giving you the taste to say there's more. When you dangle a carrot in front of the horse or monkey or donkey, and donkey wants to get it, like that. Krishna will just give you a little taste. And look, it's tasty. You want to get more? Come. Yeah, so that's what this in the purport. One of the great Acharya, he sings. He's a king actually, and when he became to Krishna consciousness, this is what he says: since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. So that's the highest pleasure in the material world, sex pleasure. Even that is not going to be attractive for him. So he says, I can't even stand that, because the pleasure he gained in performing service to Krishna really outclasses any other mundane pleasure. It's one is transcendental. This is all mundane. So it's not comparable. Okay, so let's go to text 22. This is about an intelligent person who doesn't take part in sensual pleasures. Okay, text. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
Yehi samsparshaja bhoga
dukha yonaya evate
dukha yonaya evate
adyantavanta pantaya
adyantavanta pantaya
nateshu ramate buddha.
nateshu ramate buddha.
An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery which are due to contact with the material senses. A son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Very straightforward. This is where they don't go and experiment again. They know, I can't go and enjoy any more these pleasures. They are taboo. So they avoid them. Totally avoid them. So in that particular translation, you know what Krishna is saying. Material sense pleasures have a beginning and an end. Yeah, it's not eternal pleasure. And therefore, if you are intelligent, why would you want to go into it? That's what he's saying. So wise man does not delight in that. But if you try to go and take pleasure in that, then you are bound by the material nature. So there's some binding. And another point Krishna says, contact with senses and trying to enjoy sense objects will lead you to misery, because they are sources of misery. So anything to do. But if the senses are used in the service of Krishna, then they are liberating. That's the difference. So if you are an intelligent person, you shouldn't take part in sensual pleasures, bottom line. Comments, questions? Otherwise we'll continue. Text 23. Saknoti haivaya sodam
Saknoti haivaya sodam
praksharira vimokshana
praksharira vimokshana
kama krododbhavam vegam
kama vegam
sayukta sa sukhi naraha.
sayukta sa sukhi naraha.
Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So this is another clue for us how to be properly situated in this material world, even though there's so many material desires available. So Prabhupada says if one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talk, forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. So this verse is actually taken from Upadesham Amrita, Nectar of Instruction. Vacha vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udara basta vegam. So if you can control all this, one is able to control the forces of all these different senses, and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Okay. Not it's just a title because your father's title, you get the title. No? It's not like that.
The difference between Goswami and Swami.
It's the same. Go means answers. Swami, no?
Master.
Senses. Huh?
Master of the senses.
I mean, Go means senses. So Goswami means master sense.
Would those names change if it's masculine or feminine?
Huh?
Would those names change?
If
For
it's
instance,
masculine.
if a man got to that level or a woman got to that level? Or do the
Yeah, I
men
think they'll
get
say Goswamini.
there?
Swamini. N-I. You had an N-I there.
Is there a difference between talk and tongue?
Yeah, talk means talking unnecessary topics and so on. Tongue means tasting or chanting.
Stomach too.
Huh?
There is a stomach.
Yeah,
The stomach is mainly for taste.
taste. You eat too much, then the stomach will go down into your, push your intestines and pushes the bladder and pushes the genitals, so it disturbs your genitals. So therefore we don't eat too much also. So you don't eat too much, you don't eat too little. You just eat enough. You can find out yourself how much you can eat and how much you should. So basically you control your senses by performing. In Krishna consciousness we control all this by chanting, taking prasadam and so on. So and eating, enough, not too much. So that's yoga. One aspect of yoga is don't eat too much, don't eat too little, don't sleep too much, don't sleep too little. Which is in the next chapter, Krishna will say. Now then Prabhupada says also, after he talks about Goswami, material desires when unsatiated generate anger, and thus the mind, eyes and chest become agitated. Therefore one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. One who can do this is understood to be self-realizing, thus happy in the state of self-realization. It is the duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. So how long we have to control and tolerate the mind and the senses?
Forever.
Huh?
Forever.
All the way till you give up your body. It's not one day you get up and, oh, I'm liberated. No.
Then I won't get up.
It's all the way till death. Yeah. So the best way is to do Krishna conscious activity. Yeah? Not for a moment less.
Yeah, the key here is it says when the material desires, I guess if you try to give up too soon without doing the right thing, then it will actually agitate your senses.
Yes, it becomes like a serpent. Yeah. It strikes back. Yovanta sukovantar aramas Tatanta jyotirevaya Sayogi Brahma Nirvanam Brahma Bhuto Digachati. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. He is liberated in the Supreme and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. This state is called Brahma Bhuta, attaining which one is assured of going back to Godhead, back home. So basically you need to get a higher taste. So that's the urgency for all of us. We have to hear nicely, we have to chant nicely, and we have to have good sadhu sangha. Otherwise you cannot control your senses easily on your own. It's not possible. So to tolerate all this you need to have a higher taste. To get a higher taste you've got to come and experience it. Just like when you come and you sing the kirtan, it's a higher taste actually. And then you want to come and do it again. You also want to participate in it, you want to sing and so on. So you experience a higher taste. And then when you go back you think, oh, that was nice, and you keep singing and singing also. Why? Because it's a higher taste. Otherwise you won't be singing it. So it is like that. So you acquire the higher taste and then you mold it further until it's intense. So then you come to Brahma Bhuta where you are experiencing factual happiness. Labante Brahma Nirvanam Shrishtaya Shina Kaumashaha
Shrishaya Shrina Kaumasha
Chinnadvaida Yatatmana
Chinnadvaida
Sarvabhuta Hiterataha
Sarvabhuta Hiterataha.
Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings, and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. That means they don't have any more dualities. So they engage in purifying external activities by working for the benefit of others. They're trying to help others come to Krishna consciousness.
So when it says welfare of other living
That means
beings-
they try to go and revive other people's Krishna consciousness.
Okay, so basically like people like Mother Teresa, it is not, she also did the same thing. She was basically helping other people, but not for Krishna consciousness.
Yes. That's she, but you can't compare her because she is not the norm. She's not for the general. She's an exception to the rule. Not everyone can be like her.
Right.
Yeah. But for us, we can go out and give people books, talk about Krishna and so on. It's a different thing. You can't go out, we are not at this hers level where you can carry a leper, bathe them, feed them. Can you do that? Not at that level. So we shouldn't really always compare her. But yeah, what she was doing is at a very high level. Yeah. Her level you cannot compare. But whatever she did what she knew in her communion with the Lord. That's all she could do. She felt that's her call for her Lord, so that's how she did. But highest welfare is to awaken people's real relationship with God. That saves them simply by giving, if you see a beggar, you give him food one day, that's not going to release him from the suffering. He's still going to suffer tomorrow. But if you give him the knowledge that he's a spirit soul and he should think about connecting with Krishna, and you awaken that desire in him, that is the highest welfare. True enough, because then he'll think how to get out of suffering. Otherwise he'll be thinking, where's my next meal?
Prabhuji, is this attaining liberation through the karma yoga?
This is working for the benefit of others. You're already liberated, no? So he's engaging others in karma yoga. You can say he's engaging others.
It's not the path to liberation that is being explained.
No, it's
not
a
being
person-
liberated and then-
A person who is liberated, he engages in purifying others for their benefit. Okay? But working for the benefit for others. Externally it may seem like, okay, he's cooking prasadam at temple, delivers it and feeds them. Externally it looks like just a food, someone giving free food. But actually he is liberated and he is giving prasadam to awaken their higher faculties of their mind. Okay.
The devotees automatically fall in that category.
They do fall in this category, highest welfare. But they individually they may not be at the highest level, but they are on the path of that perfection. Fine. So personalities, particularly in this verse, it talks about someone who's already liberated. So this person is beyond dualities. They don't have any doubts. Okay? And they are always thinking of the Lord within themselves. They're not thinking of how to do this. No, they are just they are happy. They're just cooking. They're thinking, this is so wonderful. The Lord will be happy and like that. They're just thinking about the Lord all the time. And they go to the spot and see, oh look, the Lord has sent this person. I have to give him this. Like, they're always thinking about the Lord has sent this person so nice. Like that. Yeah, it will happen. If you continuously practice, you will also think like that. It will take time, but it happens.
How the, knowing all this, knowledge little bit, how the words like untouchables creep into the whole system?
Well, that's got to do with cleanliness. Suchi and asuchi. Now, if you want to go on the altar, you should be clean. Okay. So now, if you touch someone who is not clean, then you are contaminated. So you cannot go and serve the Lord on the altar. So that's where untouchable is. Now, within the Varnashram Dharma, there are people who do the low work, where cleaning, the carrying stool, and all those. So they are considered untouchables, but not that they are untouchable in the sense that you cannot. No, they also can take up Krishna consciousness. This is
Vedas never propagated untouchability.
No. This is all
Just classified according to the word.
work, exactly. But it's considered unclean first. But it's not that they propagated and say in the hierarchy, if you are untouchable, you can't. No. If you give up that kind of work and then you perform devotional service, then you are Vaishnava. You're higher than all the classification. Generally, when someone uses a caste system, that is man-made. Okay.
Political reasons.
That may be different thing. But you got to understand, when you go on the altar, you have to be clean. So if you step on a stool and can you walk on the altar? No, you got to go and take bath again because you're unclean like that. So that's why they avoided certain people, but it became like a trend, became a livelihood in the end. You're untouchable. But in Kali Yuga, how can you say that? Wherever you go, people are all unclean. How many people take bath after going to toilet?
All Shudras.
Exactly. If to be clean, if you use the toilet means, right? If you pass two means you have to take shower. If you urinate, then you have to wash your feet and hands and mouth. So there are different levels for Brahmanas to do service. They have to have certain level of cleanliness. Cleanliness is next to God. That's the reason. That you come to godliness means what? Sattva guna. Okay, so we try to maintain cleanliness. Otherwise, all these things which are of lower grade will contaminate your consciousness. They bring you down. You can't think properly. In the mode of ignorance, you can't think clearly. So that's different from actual improper understanding.
So this is not a part of the caste system. It is just a
It's created by society.
created.
Yeah, untouchables and so on. The guy who takes a bath, he can be touched. They packed it onto their whole life, untouchables. Yeah. Once he takes bath, he's clean. Yeah. I tell you, they do so many things in India that you believe and you live your life like that until you read the scripture and you start laughing.
But here also they did based on skin color,
Yeah, so it's all contamination.
Yeah.
Exploitation of.
Yeah, the same thing. It all boils down. If you have good features, then everyone will like you, right?
Color, skin color,
Yeah.
they have,
Krishna is black, so everyone's similar.
no, that's how they are treated here. No, when they talk about.
Not necessarily. We according to our vision, we may call whatever color we like, but it's spiritual color. It's called Shama, means darkish. Yeah.
Krishna means dark and dark.
Yeah, Krishna means darkish. Or,
Neelamekasyama.
yeah, because it's close to that colors. Yeah. According to your bhav, you'll see him in a particular color. He'll give you the color you want to see. And it's unlimited. Each of you have a way you want to see Krishna, and he will appear that way. That's amazing, isn't it? Just to see him in that different colors will be amazing. So what are we waiting for?
Everything is in white, right? White marble.
Who? Yeah, marble wise it's archana. For archana worship it's acceptable because marble is pure. So there's like 8 items you can use for archana, different things. If you are traveling and you can't, then you can go on a beach and use the sand, and then you can make the murti of the Lord and worship, and then after that get rid of it, or you can use a water mirror like that. There's different levels. Okay. So archana one form is you can use marble, you can use metal, bell metal like that. wood.
Southern part of India, all the deities and the black and white.
We call it deities, not idol.
Only deities.
Yeah, we have to say deities for Krishna. Idol, we don't do idol worship, we do deity worship. Idol worship means it's a concoction, something in from your mind. Whereas deity worship means it is from the scripture based on facts. Okay. 25 is done, yeah.
So idol worship is basically blind faith.
It's just concoction, right? Idol worship is like what in the Bible is when the Egyptians, when they were crossing, after they crossed, they were trying to come. At one point, they stopped and worshipped the golden sheep, right? They're not the Egyptians, the Jews, right? Never heard of the story. So they made a golden lamb and they worshipped. The Lord became angry with them and said, "You cannot worship anyone in any image, idol in any image." So then from then they say everybody is worshipping, right? We don't worship idols. Ours is based on scripture, the description of Krishna, how he is, how he should be worshipped, and what his features, everything is there. And that's how we produce the murtis. So it's not someone went and, like I said, and then you threw some right? It's not like that. It's not like people think that's how we concoct everything. No, it's all in the scripture. Nothing is man-made. The Dharma tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. It's given by the Lord Himself, Dharma, how to practice it. So that's how we use it. Alright, so Kama Krodha Vimuttanam Yatinam Yata Chetasam Avito Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Viditatmana. Those who are free from anger and all material desires, who are self-realized, self-disciplined, and constantly endeavoring for perfection, are assured of liberation in the Supreme in the very near future. So this is also for us to keep our determination, practices, and so on. Some of us are very quick to anger, so then you have to work on it, go for anger management, Yeah, anything that helps you to control your anger, go and if you need some medication, do it. And all material desires. If you don't have enough money to buy everything in the world, then just cut down your desires. Work it out. You understand you are not the body, you are the spirit soul, and then you follow the rules and regulations, become disciplined, and then always pray and try to serve the devotees of the Lord. And for one who is always endeavoring like that, so you have a very good chance of getting liberated. Therefore it says, in the near future. Guaranteed. So we should always think about that, Krishna, as much as we can. As I said, because we are so conditioned from our previous life, before you join Krishna consciousness, you're so conditioned to doing so many things. So now when you want to try, in the beginning it's going to be difficult, it's a challenge. Your mind will go into different things. So every time it wanders, you pull back your mind. Say, hey, hold on, let's start this again. And then you continue like that. So there are different ways one meditates also. So in the second last paragraph, at the bottom, there's an example how one is meditating. By vision, by meditation, and by touch, only do the fish, the tortoise, and the birds maintain their offspring. Similarly, do I also, O Padmaja. The fish brings up its offspring simply by looking at them. What else can it do, right? The tortoise brings up its offspring simply by meditation. It lays the eggs. The eggs of the tortoise are laid on land, and the tortoise thinks about it, how it's going to hatch. Similarly, the devotee in Krishna consciousness, although far away from the Lord's abode, can elevate himself to that abode simply by thinking of Him constantly by engagement in Krishna consciousness. he does not feel the pangs of material miseries, this state of life is called Brahma Nirvana, or the absence of material miseries, due to being constantly immersed in the Supreme. So it begins with controlling your senses, particularly in this verse, free from anger. We get angry because
The desires are not good.
your desires are not good. So that means we have to stop desiring too many things. Otherwise, you will try to get everything and then you'll be sucked up in the samsara. Okay? Keep all bad things far away. Right? Krishna told Arjuna, right? Durena yavaranam karma. Keep abominable activities far away, O Arjuna. So we don't want all these things.
Question. Is there a commonality or relation between the state of Brahma Nirvana and state of
Particularly here, if you look at what Krishna wants Arjuna to do, is basically he wants him to focus on him. Okay? So in that sense, when he says Brahma Nirvana, he's actually talking about himself, okay, the Supreme. So the word Brahma Nirvana can be interchangeable. But one who can also be liberated at the Brahman stage also, but he can be also liberated at the Paramatma stage or the Bhagavan stage. So all three can apply, but they are above the material entanglement at that level, at that stage. But for us, because we are trying to focus on Krishna, Brahma Nirvana should indicate for us Bhagavan, Bhagavan realization, not the impersonal. We are not into the impersonal. Okay? And as I already explained, it is incomplete realization, Brahma and Paramatma realization. Okay? So we want to go to the highest level. Because even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, engagement in Krishna consciousness. He does not feel the pangs of material miseries. This state of life is called Brahma Nirvana. It means you're not bothered anymore by material desires anymore. So this experience is experienced by all three. But for us, we are more focused on Krishna. Okay? So we shouldn't get caught up with all this. Whenever we see Brahman or what, don't worry about it so much. We should think more of how I can put Krishna in there. Yeah. That's what Prabhupada writes. Everything he writes, he tries to connect to Krishna. So therefore, we have seen the characteristics of the liberated person. Okay? Or as you were saying, karma yogi. How he's doing. So now in text 27 and 8, it talks about how you can get liberation through Ashtanga Yoga. It's giving that you also can get to this stage, Arjuna, if you do yoga also, he's saying. So let's read that. Sparshan kritva bahir bahayam
Spasham kritva bahirvaham
Chakshu chayvantare bhruvo
Chakshu chayvantare bhruvo
Pranapanau samo kritva
Pranapanau samo kritva
Nasabhyankara charinau
Nasabhyankara charinau
Chendriya mano buddhi
Chendriya mano buddhi
Munir moksha parayanaha
Munir moksha parayanaha
Videteccha krodho
Videteccha
Yasada mukta evasa
Yasada mukta evasa
shutting out all external sense objects, keeping the eyes and vision concentrated between the two eyebrows, suspending the inward and outward breaths within the nostrils, and thus controlling the mind, senses and intelligence, the transcendentalist aiming at liberation becomes free from desire, fear and anger. One who is always in this state is certainly liberated. So now he's giving an understanding about one who does Ashtanga Yoga. He also comes to the same liberation as one who does Karma Yoga, so Niskama Karma Yoga.
Without doing Bhakti Yoga, they get liberation.
Liberation on that level, no? You can come to the same condition, but then at that point he has to do Bhakti. Yeah. So remember, liberation means liberation from senses, liberation from the mind, liberation from the material nature, liberation from all this affecting you. So up to various stages of liberation.
The difference between liberation and self-realization.
Your soul, you realize that it's interchangeable. According to the verse, you can understand what it means. Generally, when we say liberated, means we're talking about all the way. So on the context of how the liberation is used, you have to read carefully. So this is actually an introduction to Ashtanga Yoga. There are 8 steps, remember? Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi.
It's the Yoga Sutra by Patanjali.
Patanjali, yes. So how to do it? That's the translation there, shutting out all the external sense objects, just inward breathing.
This is not the 8 siddhis.
Yeah.
That was
No, this is the process.
When that is what you achieve
By doing this. But you can achieve liberation also. That's a side benefit, mystic powers.
Mystic power.
If you want that, then you lose liberation. If you focus on Krishna and go, then you get bhakti. If you don't focus on Krishna but on the Paramatma, then you get impersonal Brahma liberation.
So only after liberation do we self-realize? So is it a step before the self-realization?
Well, you are already self-realized to some extent now. Fully self-realized is when you completely give everything to Krishna, serve Krishna. That's fully self-realized. Yeah. At the point of liberation, if you are following Krishna conscious activity, when you are serving 10% for Krishna. One who wants to merge in the Brahman, he is only concentrating on the Brahman. That's his self-realization. But the highest self-realization is Bhagavan. That he is the servant, that's his realization of God. So of all this Ashtanga Yoga, see how the material nature can pull you.
That is prescribed duty.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether it's prescribed. But that's some of the things that can take you from your Krishna consciousness also, if it's not used in Krishna consciousness.
How is that not a prescribed duty?
Hmm?
How is that not a prescribed duty?
It's prescribed duty for the mother.
Why not for the father?
Father's duty is not. If you talk about prescribed, it's not. But Kali Yoga, okay, I'll give it for you. But generally it's not. It's considered, he should provide and she should take care. But it's nothing wrong. Maybe he wants to share with you. Yeah, so of all the yoga, I was saying Krishna consciousness is the easiest form of yoga. Okay? Because you're always engaging yourself in some devotional service. Now, for example, the kid was making noise. If you know that kid is you're going to raise him up as a devotee, is going to be for Krishna, then then it's beyond his faculties. Then it's devotional service.
He is in the temple already.
Not necessarily, so many people come to temple.
A little kid.
No, it doesn't matter. You cannot just say because someone is a kid, it's okay. You know? So many people going to and taking bath in Ganga. So many people.
No, I'm not. The adults.
Same kids also go. We cannot,
They're forced to go there.
yeah, we cannot just. Devotional service is done. As you said, it's favorably performed. Sukham Kartum Avya, you will experience that. Now, if his intention is to raise the child, Krishna consciousness, bringing him to temple, he is the one who's nurturing the child. He is the one who's doing the devotional service. Then when the child later on, because of the impression, samskar, he then relates to this is good for me. Then at that point, I agree with you.
Straight to the Gurukula.
Yeah, you do your best in raising, just like Papa's father did everything to make sure his son was Krishna conscious. That's
So Prabhu, it's your past karma too, right? That's what you were explaining.
not karma, I won't say karma, past devotional life.
Right. I mean to say that.
Yeah. If the kid takes up, then I'll agree with you. Wait till he's 16, then we'll talk. No, honestly, I've seen enough. They do so well until they go to high school and then sometimes you lose them.
We talked before about the compassion.
Yeah.
He had the fear that he will lose his guru, his uncle, Arjuna.
Oh, yeah.
He did not fight because he had the fear that he will lose.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Fear for the others and compassion for the others? So he had the compassion for his guru, he does not lose.
Yeah.
Does he has the fear that he will lose?
Fear that he will lose? No, he didn't fear. Oh, fear that he will lose. Yeah, he was fearing that. He was in. That's why the whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fear fear for the others is different than fear for yourself. I have a fear that I may lose something,
Okay.
but I have a fear that my other devotee will lose something.
So both are material, no?
Both are material.
Material, right?
It's not that I want to help him. That
Yeah,
I-
maybe you want to help him. You may fear he'll do something wrong and you want to help him. But still a material level you're helping him. You're not helping him spiritually. Yeah? So, and compassion is also sometimes misplaced. Material compassion. So Krishna didn't want Arjuna to show material compassion. He wanted him to show spiritual compassion. So spiritual compassion is better to kill him and liberate him than to keep him and let him continue with his bad reactions that he is going through. He gives all different case scenarios, right? We read in chapter 2. First he said, it's not the body, spirit, soul, so why you worry about killing the body? Then he says, your duty, karma, you do that and do it as an offering to me. And then he says, if you think the body is made of chemicals, right? Then why you worry about chemicals? Then he goes on like that, one after the other. So compassion also, when we feel compassion, we should feel compassionate enough to help them in their Krishna consciousness. Yeah. But of course, ultimately if someone is so sorrowfully suffering, then you can feel naturally compassion. Sometimes you see beggars who are really suffering and they're asking, yeah, you can give some money to them. Nothing wrong. We didn't say you can't give them some money to help buy some food or something like that. But one thing is, just because you are a devotee doesn't mean you cannot give charity to poor people. You can. You can. That is also human compassion. We must have that. Otherwise we are worse than the ordinary people. So yeah. So Arjuna had compassion, but Krishna said it's misplaced. Okay, so Ashtanga Yoga, Krishna consciousness is easy, yeah. Yeah, when you take up Krishna consciousness, you find that you come to quickly to understand that you, even though you may not realize it, but you, at least intellectually you come to understand that you are not the body. When you take up this study in Krishna consciousness. Whereas in the other processes like yoga and so on, you're just breathing and all those until at a later stage, when you come to the place when you're controlling your senses, then at that stage you realize you're not the body. It's a difference. Whereas here, at least immediately you understand you are spirit soul. First day you come only, they will bombard you, the devotees, hey, you're not the body, you karma, nonsense, this and that. Yeah, spirit soul. Right? So one immediately understands one's position in relation to Krishna. But then, after knowing that, you need to understand how am I going to realize this position. That's where the practice comes in, sadhana bhakti and so on. And then when you reach a certain level, then you can see everyone. Samadarshana. Okay, these are all devotees. Okay, this devotee is not good, that devotee is not good. But they are all devotees. This one is more intelligent, that one is foolish, but they are all devotees. That's Samadarshana. Yeah. Now the real Samadarsha is you see everyone out there, Krishna's part and parcel, who are suffering. So I'm going to give them Krishna. I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them the books. That is real Samadarsha. So that's what Krishna wants from Arjuna. Not that I will give them something that I feel compassionate with. No. Not like that. It's not based on how you feel compassionate, how you feel good, you feel sad. That's duality already. Krishna didn't want that. He wanted real compassion for all people. Real welfare for the suffering people.
It's about doing the right thing.
Yeah, but what is right thing?
Following the dharma.
What?
The right thing.
What?
Being uniform to everybody.
No. What is the right
Without
thing?
any use.
Huh?
Krishna consciousness.
Yes. The right thing is to give people Krishna. Always. You have to link to
That's
Krishna.
one of the prescribed duties, right?
That's one of not necessarily. If you just follow karma kanda, prescribed duties, then you're not necessarily will be. For us, yes. As when you start coming to this temple, your prescribed duty is to give people Krishna. Yeah. 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 Prescribed duties in that sense, you give Krishna. Then yes. All right. So then. We will go to text 29, this is the last verse. Bhaktaram yajna tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvabhutanam nyatva mam shanti vrichyate. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So Prabhupada says this is the peace formula for the human. If they understand this, then this is the real peace formula. The conditioned souls within the clutches of the illusory energy are all anxious to attain peace in the material world, but they do not know the formula for peace, which is explained in this part of the Bhagavad Gita. The greatest peace formula is simply this: Lord Krishna is the beneficiary in all human activities. Man should offer everything to the transcendental service of the Lord because He is the proprietor of all planets and the demigods thereon. No one is greater than He, He is greater than the greatest of the demigods, Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. In the Vedas, the Supreme Lord is described as Tam Ishwaranam Paramam Maheshwaram. Under the spell of illusion, living entities are trying to be lords of all this survey, but actually they are dominated by the material energy of the Lord. The Lord is the master of the material nature, and the conditioned souls are under the stringent rules of material nature. Unless one understands these facts, it is not possible to achieve peace in the world either individually or collectively. This is the sense of Krishna consciousness. Lord Krishna is the supreme predominator, and all living entities, including the great demigods, are his subordinates. One can attain perfect peace only in complete Krishna consciousness. And then, this 5th chapter is practical explanation of Krishna consciousness, generally known as Karma Yoga. The question of mental speculation as to how Karma Yoga can give liberation is answered herewith. To work in Krishna consciousness is to work with the complete knowledge of the Lord as the predominator. Such work is not different from transcendental knowledge. Direct Krishna consciousness is Bhakti Yoga, and Jnana Yoga is a path leading to Bhakti Yoga. Krishna consciousness means to work in full knowledge of one's relationship with the Supreme Absolute, and the perfection of this consciousness is full knowledge of Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Alright? Okay, so the sufferings that we are undergoing is because we are covered by the material nature. And when material nature covers us, we identify with our happiness and distress. Or we think this belongs to me. Somebody gives you something and then you immediately think it's yours. Right? Somebody gives you and immediately you think it's yours. And the next day you die, it's not yours anymore. So this feeling of possessiveness and so on is what's causing problems all over the world. Everybody is fighting for some little land, the forefathers fought this land and they draw the land boundary here, and then the next generation they defeat this guy, push back the boundary, and then it goes on ad infinitum, right? And then that's their realization. And obviously they are not thinking all this land belongs to somebody, right? 100 years ago someone was here. Now you're sitting there, you're thinking it's yours. 100 years later someone will sit and thinks it's theirs. So this is perpetuated through greed and so on. Identification. So therefore Krishna says in this verse, he is the proprietor of everything. Nothing belongs to us. So when we understand that principle, then effectively we have nothing to claim. So when we can't claim anything, then we have no attachment, or we can't fight with each other for anything. So only thing we can realize from this is, he says Suridam Sarva Bhutana, means he is our well-wisher, always our well-wisher. So therefore, whatever we find we can use for our livelihood is given by him, because he is our well-wisher. So we use it and we use it in his service. So if everybody understands that, then there's no need for borders from one country to another country. There's no need for all those things. But when we pursue materially, then these borders make sense. I have to protect my wealth, my greed, my livelihood. So this is what's happening. So when people understand this principle that actually everything belongs to God, they have to shut up and try to work with each other. So that's why this is called the peace formula verse.
They are fighting in the name of God, actually. So,
some people are,
yeah.
but again, they don't understand what is the goal of trying to understand the Supreme Lord. That is to develop love for God and for His creation. So by killing His creation, one is the love. Violence only begets violence. You can't develop love through violence. So yeah, so we go back and read all the 5, well you can read up to 6 chapters because I'm going to give you assignments up to 6 chapters. So you have, so I think I'll be back in a year's time because I can't come back any time this year. So, yeah.
Is it possible as you're traveling,
Time zones, different part of the world.
right? Will it be possible like to do one day in 2 weeks or something?